We have got a name change. So we were formerly all about real estate with Sam Smith. Now we are the Living RVA podcast.
Because there's more to it than just Sam Smith.
There's more to it than just Sam Smith. So today we're joined by Sam, of course, and we have Pat Chandler from Swim World. So welcome, Pat.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We appreciate your time. So I have been doing business with Pat for several years. I have a pool, and Pat is probably the only person that I can walk into, bring water, and I know that she's only going to sell me what I need. Pat is wonderful. The people that work with her are wonderful. And she did bring up a very important point, because she knows that I'm in real estate, about the fact that so many people sell homes with a swimming pool and do not do an inspection. So with that being said, I said, Pat, you need to come to our little podcast and talk about why we need inspections and what are most of the things that you find with an inspection.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. There's so much to a pool inspection and what it can save your customer. The cost of an average pool inspection is about $300. And let me say this right now, I'm with Swim World. If you have a favorite pool store, the important thing here is that you get the inspection. We would love to be able to help you with it. But again, if you have your favorite pool store that you trust, please ask them. The importance is the pool inspection. With the cost of products now, it's ridiculous, actually. A new pump is going to run you, without installation, about $2,600. A new salt cell can run you about $2,100 without installation, and it goes on and on. A new liner will go anywhere between $4,000 and $8,000 dependent upon the size of your pool. What a pool inspector does is he comes and he looks at the pool itself. He looks at all the plumbing. He looks at whether the mechanical issues are working. He checks the salt system if you have one. He looks at the concrete. He looks at the fence around it if you are a fence, and the automatic cover if that's what you've decided to do. This has been my crusade for several years because of the importance. The story I will tell you is of a customer. We did not do the inspection, and the salt cell was bad, and the inspector didn't notice it, to the tune of $2,100. That could have been put in escrow.
Wow. So let me ask, and if you guys can lean a little bit into the mic so we can pick up the audio just a little bit better, just whenever you speak. When you have these pool inspections, what are some things that you have found, and what are some, we know like a regular home inspection.
Right.
If you find something on the foundation, that's bad. When you're looking at a pool, what are some things inspectors have found that could be detrimental to that pool or the sell value of that home?
You could have a bad liner.
Okay.
Which could have a hole in it. It could have come out of the bead. It could be fragile because the chemistry was off. Excuse me. You could have a bad pump or a bad sand filter or a bad salt system. You could have plumbing that does not work. If he determines that you are losing water from the pool, to find the leak is thousands of dollars.
Wow.
So it's such a valuable tool. I want y'all to do due diligence for your customers. Your pool inspector, your home inspector is not the one who does the pool inspection. Right. It's detailed. He'll look at the liner. He'll look at the concrete. If it's a fiberglass shell or a concrete pool, on the concrete pool, he'll see if the tile work is still intact. He can look at the plumbing and see if there are seals that are bad because water is leaking. On the top of a sand filter, there's a multi-port valve and it leaks. All these now in the pool industry are very, very expensive, and just do the best for your customer. That's all I want.
And there's more and more pools in the Richmond area than there ever was.
Right. I have an average of 5 or 6 new pool customers coming into my store every year. We have great working relationships with the builders, and they send their customers to us.
Wow, that's awesome. So what are some general maintenance tips for people who have pools that they should be doing every year to prevent major issues down the road?
You need to have your water tested regularly at a pool store. We can give you such valuable information like the pH of the water, the chlorine level of the water, the calcium. Calcium is the most important chemical you put in a vinyl liner pool. In a vinyl liner pool, water demands the calcium. And if there's not enough calcium base in that water, it's going to pull it out of the vinyl in your liner. And therefore, your liner is going to get very brittle very quick. He'll also look on the liner note, he'll also look to see if there are cracks in the liner from brittleness.
Okay.
He'll look at the steps, he'll look at the railings, anything having to do with the pool, not including the furniture. We don't look at the furniture. Not our thing. So there are things you can do to keep your pool well maintained. Have your water tested routinely. I call it Pat's 3-part process. Chlorine when you need it, tablets if you use them when you need it, and algicide once a week. And what I tell people is if you do what I'm asking you to do, it'll keep your hands from around my neck in July and August because your pool won't go green.
Cool.
And I have had a green pool before. There is, especially with the weather.
This weather is horrible. We never really had a cold winter. So we've developed what I call super algae because it went cool, it went warm, it went cool, it went warm. And the algae is just ridiculous to clear this year. The other problem we're having locally is there is a lot of copper in the water. Traditionally, the 3 ways you get copper in the water is if you have a well, copper from the well. If you have a heater, excuse me, where the heat exchanger is going bad, it will leach metals into your pool, or if you use a copper-based algicide. But I'm seeing so many pools that don't fall into that pattern. And what I was told was that the copper is coming from all the construction that's in the dirt because the construction debris flies everywhere, the dirt particles. And that's why you're seeing people that have horrifically green pools. And it's a lovely shade of neon green. You can see through it. But I tell people to just, if it's chemically sound, just pretend it's St. Patrick's Day. So
well, our pool is as clear and shiny as can be because my husband does Pat's three steps.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, we've been in business, I believe it's 45 years this year.
Wow.
Okay. My husband's parents and my husband founded the company. I married into it. And we've always tried to do what is best for our customers. If I tell you you need something, you need it. If I can get you out of the store without it, or there's a cheaper way to do it for you, I'll tell you that. And I tell people I still have to be able to sleep at night. Okay. There are pool stores in Richmond. We all use the same programs, and we get a printout of what you need, and they will tell you this is exactly what you need. But with time and experience, you realize that no pool needs 100 pounds of something.
Mm-hmm.
You may need most of that, and we'll start it in littles and see where the numbers crunch.
And the problem is the person walking into the pool store knows nothing. So they depend on you. And the fact that you're honest makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I love that honesty. So let's talk a little bit about the business side of things. Okay. 45 years. That's a long time.
It is.
That says a lot.
It does say a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If you could boil it down to one reason, what's kept you guys in business that long?
Customer service. Simple as that. When you come into my store for the first time and I give you the welcome to the pool world talk, I say, welcome to the swim world family. I'm blessed. I hear things because we've had customers for so long. I hear things before other family members hear. People will come in, well, I haven't told my husband this yet with a health-related issue. I have a healthcare background. I'm a respiratory therapist. Or they'll come in and they go, well, you know, I'm divorcing my wife or my husband regardless. And I go, are you happy? And the answer I get is absolutely. Well, that's all I care about for my customers is that they be happy and that they have great water in their pool.
That's funny.
But my mother-in-law, God rest her soul, customer service was her thing. I just came into this after she passed away.
Okay.
And, you know, we still have customers that we built their pools and we stopped building in 93.
Wow.
So we have a great background because my husband built pools for so many years. And he's worked on pools for so many years. So when the inspection's done, he has all that knowledge.
That's awesome. I love
And,
that.
and Pat has a whole team too. She's got this great gal that opens up
Yep.
the pool.
Right. Karen, the pool lady,
Yep.
opens and closes pools. And if you happen to live in Salisbury, she does weekly maintenance in Salisbury. Our son Alex comes in and works when I can't work. And my husband, who is retired, messes the cash register up every time. So we don't want him in the store.
We've all got our grades and our
Right.
issues. So,
That's funny.
45 years, and you said you married into it.
Yep, I married into it.
And what were you a respiratory therapist
Yes.
before?
Oh, yeah, for 20 plus years.
Okay. When you first got into it, a little nervous? Were you excited about it?
Well, the story is I came in at the tail end of 06.
Okay.
2006. And my mother-in-law knew everything there was to know about the store. So I was going to be her helper.
Okay.
David had planned on doing substantial work on pools at the Bay, so he was going to be gone for a while. And then she passed away that February,
Oh, wow.
which left me in the store not knowing squat from Shinola. And I would plead with people. We have part books. And I'd go, listen, David's going to be back tomorrow. He can put his finger on this part. I have no clue what you're talking about. But thanks to our local suppliers, they were able to talk me through it. And now here we are, X amount of years later. And I still learn things every day.
That's awesome. What type of adversity have you guys faced? I mean, like, I know we've gone through a recession. Economy is a little crazy now. Has any of that impacted you? How have you guys come through that? 45 years is so long.
More
You've
of a
gotta battle
supply
something.
chain issue in the last
Okay.
couple of years specific to tablets. There were 3 plants in the United States that made tablets. One had an explosion. One was down near Houston, and they had that frigid cold weather, and it destroyed whatever it destroyed down there, which shut that down. So there was a tablet issue. There were supply chain issues for the last couple of years. It's now evening out more. I'm blessed. I get deliveries 4 days a week. So if I don't have it in stock, I can usually have it in 48 hours max. And we have 2 local distributors. So between the 2, I can get my hands onto most things.
That's great.
That's awesome.
So
I love it. That's such a great story.
Yeah,
Like 45 years.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome.
Right.
I've been doing this for 9 years. I feel like I've been doing it for forever.
Right.
there's actually a pool store in Richmond over in Mechanicsville called Playmore, PLA-MOR.
Okay.
And they're longer than we are. They started in like 68.
I think they built our pool.
Right. What happened was the father founded the company, Mr. Clements, and when he passed away, Steve got the construction side and Kenny got the retail side. And the other thing most people don't know is all the long-term people in Richmond, when we go on the rewards trip, we all travel together and have for years. So we all talk to each other. I'm not after anybody else's business and they're not after my business.
That's nice.
Yeah.
When there were real shortages, we would even call each other and say, listen, I have extra of this if you need it. Or do you happen to have any extra of this if
That's great.
so we have a great working relationship with the other pool stores in Richmond and with the builders in Richmond. So
That's awesome.
That is great because, like I said, there's more and more pools in Richmond.
Right.
When I came here 18 years ago selling real estate, people didn't even want to buy houses with pools.
right.
But that has really changed. I think it's because there's so many people from other places now living in
Mm.
Richmond that they wanted pools.
Traditionally, the amount of pools here compared to the pools up north is only about 25%.
Wow.
If
Okay.
you were to take an aerial view of the Richmond area and an aerial view of some random area, say in New Jersey or in Massachusetts, you'd see 75% more pools up there.
Really?
Absolutely.
I would think the further north you'd go, there'd be less.
Because it's cold.
Well,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about salt systems?
Let's
for a
talk about
second?
salt systems.
Okay.
I don't know what salt systems are other than we've got a salt shaker at the house.
That's
And
not
it, put it on some food and things like that.
She's not talking about a salt grinder.
No.
No. Okay.
No. So there are many ways to keep your pool clean. One of them is just straight chlorine with granular shock and tablets. Then they have a salt system, which is a chlorine generator. Okay. And what happens is the salt water goes into this piece of equipment, gets hit with an electrical current that have plates on it. I tell people they're covered in pixie dust because it's the easiest thing to understand. And what happens with all that happening is the salt, which is NaCl, sodium chloride, splits for the chlorine element to go away. So you basically are putting elemental chlorine in your pool. What it replaces in your regular chlorine pool is your tablets. Okay. That salt cell has a finite life expectancy. When the pixie dust is gone, the salt cell doesn't work. Okay. To the tune of about $2,000 for a 25,000 gallon pool.
Wow.
Okay. Again, going back to the importance of the inspector looking at the serial number because it's date coded on the cell itself. Okay. Average life expectancy for a pool pump right now is somewhere between 3 and 5 years. If you have an older pump, don't switch to salt because you're going to be buying a new pump within a year.
Wow.
The older pumps, and I mean greater than 5 years at this point, the older pumps do not have seals strong enough to deal with the corrosiveness of salt. Right now, one of the new things in pools, especially in Chesterfield County and Powhatan, is automatic covers. The counties require that you have a pool fence around your pool, and unless you have an automatic cover, okay? If you have an automatic cover with salt systems, you have to get in there at least once a week and rinse out those rails because, again, salt is very corrosive. Salt is the nicest texture water you will ever swim in, and that's the reason to get a salt system. Because when you amateurize in a new cell every 5 years, you're not saving a penny.
So if somebody is going to buy a new pump
Mhm.
for their pool,
Right.
would you suggest at that point them switching over to salt if they don't already have it?
I think if they're happy with the system that they're on, there's no need to change.
Okay.
I can mimic very closely the ease of what a salt system does. You set a dial with a salt system and you say you want it to produce 20% chlorine, and it's going to produce 20% chlorine. When you have shock and tablets, you don't have the ability to dial in what percentage you want.
Right.
But we can get close, okay? With a salt system, you still have to shock your pool. You still have to put calcium and alkalinity in the water. You still have to put an algicide in. All a salt system is doing is replacing those tablets. Okay.
Is there any advantage to the salt system if you have a vinyl pool?
No.
Or disadvantage?
No.
Okay.
Truthfully, the best vinyl liner chemical to put in the pool is something, it was known as Baquicil. They have rebranded it to something else at this point. But Baquicil for a brand new liner, it's a hydrogen peroxide base, so there's no chlorine in it, and it will keep that liner pristine forever. Not forever, but 10,
What's
15
the
years.
life of a liner?
Depends on how well you take care of it. To
Right.
be very honest with you, if you keep the right chemicals in it and you can deal with the fact that it may not be aesthetically pleasing to you after a
Mhm.
while because the sun bleaches it out.
Right.
If you take care of it, it could last you 10 years. Years ago, probably close to 12, 13 years ago, we had built a pool for a gentleman in Petersburg. And we got a phone call saying he needed a new liner and he wanted to change out all his parts and pieces at that point. And I remember going with my husband and walking over to the pool and going, David, there's no liner in this pool. It had been completely bleached white after all these years.
Goodness.
This was probably a good 20 plus years later. And when we quoted him, he said, that's a lot of money. And I looked at him and I went, you haven't put a penny into this pool other than chemicals in 20 plus years. Let's amateurize it out over those 20 years. But it depends. If you have the right amount of calcium in the water, it'll keep the liner soft and supple, which means that you're not going to get the fracturing or the breaking or the cracking. But if somebody throws something sharp in the pool, vinyl liner pools can be patched.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing we should talk about is if you can only afford, to budget for somebody opening your pool or closing your pool, please pay them to close your pool. If we get a bad winter, and we're due one, and you've left water in your pipes, you're looking at thousands of dollars. It's going to cost you $1,000 to find out where the leak is, and then all your concrete's going to have to be pulled up, and then the plumbing repair is going to have to be done.
Oh my
Opening a
goodness.
pool is just icky nasty because there's slime, pool slime under the cover. But you can learn how to do that on YouTube. The other thing I'll ask you to think about is that when you're looking at YouTube on things, don't listen to necessarily what they're telling you chemically. Every area is different, and every area does things differently. As an example, there are 2 chemicals to drop your pH. One is pH minus, which is sodium bisulfate, and the other is muriatic acid. In this area, we don't sell muriatic acid to vinyl liner pools, because at least I don't, because if you lose your balance and pour it on your liner, it's going to eat through your liner, and you're going to come back to me and go, how could you do this? So if you're vinyl liner, you only get pH minus. If you're fiberglass or you are concrete, you can have the muriatic acid. Another thing about a concrete pool is that concrete, when it's fresh done, has a very high pH. Normal pH for your pool is 7.2 to 7.6. The pH of gunite can be 13. And your mantra is muriatic acid is my friend, because you're going to be putting 1 gallon in a week at least.
Wow. What is the cost of having your pool open and having it closed?
I think
Roughly.
somewhere in the $300-400 range, depending on where you are and what needs to be done. And that's a guess, because we don't do it. Karen, the pool lady, does it, and she sets her own fees. Let me do this for people. If you want to talk to me, we have my business phone, but please feel free to call my cell phone. It's 804-370-6769. As I said, my crusade here is not who does the pool inspection. We'd love to do it for you, but it's that you get the pool inspection done.
That's great. Such great information. Thank you so much.
My
Pat.
pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I'm going to add your banner. I did it right. Cool. So we got her number scrolling at the bottom of the screen for
Great.
people,
That's my cell
to
number.
see.
That's
And
great.
One of the other things that we're very unique about is I readily give my cell phone number out to customers. My logic is this. It's a Saturday afternoon at 6:00 and something's wrong with your pool, and we don't open again till Monday morning. So you don't need to stress about your pool. That's my job. And text me. You got to tell me who I'm talking to, or call me and let's discuss it, and we can work you through it over the phone.
You don't find business owners like that very often.
Not at all.
Not even
I just
a little
want my
bit.
customers to be happy.
That's
the
why your
extent of it.
business is so successful.
That's why it's been there for 45 years.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it. Customer service.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Pat. It's been an
It's my
absolute
pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Sam, for
You're
asking me.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
And I wish we could figure out a way. Well, anybody could call me or call CJ. And if you have any ideas for a podcast or a special business owner that you'd like us to interview,
Absolutely.
give us a call. So I'll tell you my number, and then CJ will tell you.
Sure.
Mine's 804-339-7344. Sam Smith.
Yeah, mine's 804-517-2801. And you can message us, call us, text us. If you know of anybody, if you want to be on the podcast, we'd love to have you.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, and we'll be seeing you guys soon.
Thank you.